So you need to, as a coach, you need to be able to teach information that is then directly transferable into skills. You see what I'm saying? Because information isn't enough to be a good player. I'm a mid-diamond support player right now, 33.3. Even though I know more than really any flex support player about the game in their role, outside of some micro little details. So why am I not 4.6 or 4.7? It's because I have the information, but I cannot translate that consistently into skills. That's the problem. I know, but I can't react. I can't respond. I can't transfer visuals into effective action. It's not just mechanics. So as a coach, you have to take this information, you have to find ways of making it communicable and transferable and digestible. And the most important thing is that you're not force feeding like a CC's Pizza or a buffet. You're not jamming thousands of calories of information down the poor player's gullets, because they're not digesting anything. Their stomach's going to explode and it's going to be a mess. They can, small bites, let it digest, let them figure it out, let them go rep it, let them build that skill, and then move on to the next.
Love you.
Love you too. Nice shirt.
See you soon. Thanks.
So, you really have to be very cautious. And what I'm saying, this is not just Overwatch. This is life. Anything in life. It's reps. It's communicating it simply and basic thing and keeping it interesting, and then challenging the players to go and execute on that. You can be a great teacher, but you could be a dog coach, like trash coach. I know a lot of, and it's not just about, you can explain it really well, but if you're constantly explaining and talking and monologuing over and over and over again, but you're not actually building those skills, then you're trash. That's why when it comes to VOD reviews are incredibly important. If you get a VOD review from me, you're going to learn a lot and you're going to have a lot of tools, but I'm not your coach. I am, that's not fair. I'm a little bit of your coach, but I don't see you on a day-to-day basis. I'm not messaging you every single day, encouraging you. I'm not checking your progress every single week. I'm not critiquing your training unless you specifically ask me. That's why I gave you the post-coaching checklist. That's kind of like the coach for me, right? But that's not coaching. I mean, really, I'm teacher Spilo more than anything else. You have to coach yourself. So you can learn a lot in this stream, but you have to take it and use it. You have to take it and use it. You have to take it and use it. There's a reason why when I do VOD reviews, people make fun of me for being like it's the same concepts over and over and over again. It's not just because those concepts are so important, but I want to emphasize that it doesn't need to be it shouldn't be complicated when you're improving at anything. It needs to be basics, repetition, over and over and over again. So you might be a great teacher, you might know everything, and you might even be a great communicator, but you could be a trash coach. So my base expectations for you as a coach are to have the prioritize, teach, discuss, actionable plan. Let's just say action. Okay. First off, as a coach, you study. So you figure out what you think the team needs to prioritize. What do we need to fix? What do you think is the biggest issue preventing you guys from executing well? Not need to be big, easy stuff. Things that either are going to have big impact or are easy to understand and easy to execute on. Okay. Sorry, the VOD command's a little bit out. Then you need to teach why those problems are a factor, like why you think those things need to be adjusted, and then teach how we can fix them. And then we need to discuss. This is one of the most important parts. You need to discuss with the team, like what do you guys, okay, this is what I would suggest. What do you guys think? This is what we need to accomplish. So what's going to be the best way of getting there? Okay. And then the actionable plan is once there's a discussion that you moderate, that you lead, that you have an actionable plan on what you need to be doing. For example, all right, guys, I've looked at our footage, and it really seems like we're struggling with during our ult planning stage. Our ult tracking takes way too long. We're taking 20-25 seconds. It means we're going into fights without a plan. Now, our planning is good when we have time, but we don't always have time. So what we need to do is, there's a prioritize. We need to know, we need to learn how to be able to ult track quicker in under 10 or 15 seconds. So that means that first off here, we need to work on quickly doing tanks, quickly DPS, then quickly supports, and then utilize the most important ultimates on those and find ways of countering them. Now, I don't expect us to our ult checking to be perfect, and I don't expect us to always have an answer for every ultimate, but we need to prioritize which ultimates we need to track. So in other words, maybe we know that they have Nanoblade, right? So that's a priority to track. Maybe we know that they have Grav, right? Maybe we know that they have Beat, so that means that we can't just use, Flux, we have to use Flux plus Riptide or something like that. So we need to be able to look at the enemy composition and prioritize what are our best ways of comboing and best ways of countering those ultimates, and we need to do it quickly. So let's start practicing that this week. What do you guys think? Red, what do you think is going to be how do you think what do you think you need from your team to ult track better? What do you guys think that we could be doing better with our ult tracking? Discuss. Okay, well, I think that I could really use some help because sometimes I don't always remember the tank ult. So I'm gonna start ult tracking as quickly as I can, but if you guys can help correct me if you think that there's any ultimates, okay. And then that means I also I feel like I ult track really, really well, but sometimes I just feel like my teammates don't listen to me. Like last time I said they had Nano Blade and we didn't say anything or do anything, and we died in Nano Blade, and you guys what? We didn't know they had Nano Blade, but I said they had Nano Blade. You guys just weren't listening to me. Okay, all right. So that sounds like an issue. I can definitely feel your problem. So what our action is to be faster with our ult tracking. But I also want, when we're ult tracking, everyone to stop what they're doing and listen to Red, not only to help him track better, but so that when we actually list the ultimates that they have, we actually have an actionable plan with it. Okay, there's your little snapshot of how to bring a concept, right? To prioritize the proper concept, to teach it, to discuss it with the players, and then come up with an actionable plan. And there's your coaching. Teaching is just one of the 4 aspects. Teaching doesn't know how to prioritize. Teaching doesn't know how to encourage discussion. Well, I mean, it might, but in teaching doesn't give you an actionable plan. And then most importantly, teaching doesn't keep them focused during the scrim. But yeah, okay. All right, so there you go.
Thoughts about how you want to play this comp? What are your thoughts about how you want to play this comp?
Bam. Hold distance between us and the enemy team. Not be close. Rotate before they can.
Yeah, you want to play spam. You want to play to pull out resources before you want to spam this choke, and if they start to push past the choke, you want to come back here and spam them out at this choke and this choke. And you don't want to allow Echo to roam freely or Genji to roam freely, because Genji's going to try and come either this way or he's going to come this way, maybe go all the way behind and come from back here even. I don't know, Echo might even do that too. Doesn't really matter, but you want to try and prevent the flanks by the 2 people that can easily do it. I doubt Lucio would leave his Rhine because that'd just be a throw. Keep distance, and then obviously we want to spam. We also want to deny angles and flanks, and whose job is that?
Door.
Yup. Just playing the average brawl comp.
So far, this has been relatively good. You've inspired some good discussion. You've definitely hit on the same things, but we can shave the fat, okay? We can shave the fat, all right? This kind of stuff, especially on a team of your SR, is going to be, you need to keep distance, and we need to spam. Deny angles, flanks, great. Move on. But we don't care about which flank Genji's going to be taking. We don't care if this is Rush or if this is Brawl. It's a fast comp. They're going to play shorter sightlines. The Genji and Echo are going to have a really hard time spamming against our composition. Even with the fact that we have, Torb Junkrat, which is not exactly great against Echo, they're going to have a hard time spamming against us, right? As long as our BAP marks their Echo or just shoots their Echo when she gets a little close, they are going to have a really hard time building those ultimates. So I'm not really concerned about getting the perfect read in this composition, because the thing I've learned is that your team is never going to get a perfect read on the enemy composition. Even contenders, teams struggle to make this instantaneous adjustments. It's better to get a general read and then just execute on your plan. Screw the enemy comp. Play your comp the way you want to. We spam, we play long sight lines, and whatever things that we need to do to counter them, fine. But that's less important than playing our game. Don't be a little more efficient here.
They're going to poke for ults on DPS. Oh,
God dang it. Alright, gotta refresh again.
I'll just spend some time finding a new one. And then obviously they have the good old Nano Blade.
Well,
okay.
We don't have a lot of angles.
Exactly. That's exactly it. We're all here, so all the spam. Yes, it is a choke, so this is basically where all of it's going to have to go anyway. But what's stopping them from going this way?
That's not your Discord chat.
So how are we going to remedy that?
We can either
Like two
we can
people
send
over,
like two, yeah,
or like the Sig's in.
Tiggins in or
Oh, like cause Sig has ability and won't need much heals.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like
I
you
mean, we
can-
could send.
That's your
Sig,
Discord
and
chat.
You could even send, you know, Torb over if you wanted to.
It's okay.
You could instead of Torb,
Hey,
send
Lux.
Jump over. Just like in general, 1 to 3 people should be on the other side. Probably closer to like 2 usually, just so that's not. It's enough to deter them from just hard focusing because there's 2 of you there rather than just 1 person to come rush down because they do have a Lucio. So you do have to be careful being over here.
you just want your people who can get out kind of.
Yeah,
easier,
you'd
have
play
things that help them get out.
But if they push those two, now you're spamming them in their back.
You know, like you wouldn't
You
play
make them have to
super
make a
far
choice.
up.
Oh no.
Like ideally, if everyone can see the map that's on screen, you'd
I see
have
it.
1 half plane
see it.
here, then 1 half plane here.
Oh no.
So to reiterate, we want a split. Some people over here, some people over here.
But you still see how there's just so much fat to trim. You got the point. They've bought into it. You don't have to hammer it home. All right, guys, we want to split like a little more in the choke, like maximum sightlines, and just be able to like spam them out from multiple different angles. Like it could be Sigma plus whatever. You guys can figure that out in the match. Like I just don't care. Like trust your players' intelligence. They'll figure it out.
That way, they have 2 points that they have to worry about. The people right here can worry about this door as well, and then the people over here can worry about this and this.
Do you see what you're doing here?
And then
Do you see what you're doing? You're literally drawing out each individual door that each sightline should cover. My cat is stepping on my laptop, sweetie. Okay. No, we don't care. We don't care, Baggins. We just don't care. They will figure that out.
the people over here can worry about this and this, or we'll just do this general.
Let the way nobody shows an infant how to walk. Nobody shows an infant how to walk. An infant will watch and will get assistance, and then they will figure it out on their own. If your players are hungry and want to improve, and you build a culture of that, and you set them up for success by teaching them basic, good, fundamental Overwatch, they will figure out the details. They will figure out the details.
General area, I guess.
You know, they will go, hey, like, this doesn't work. We're just going to go down here. And it will be so much better taught and better remembered if they're the ones teaching themselves. Like, it's, and I, listen, and I'm on my high horse up here. Like, listen to me, Chief. I am up here right now. Like, I'm up here like, Baggins, how dare you try and like, listen, Chief. I know the feeling. I've done this so many times myself. I know exactly what you're talking about. I do this all the time. I over micro and over this, and when I did team reviews, when I see a mistake, I can't let it pass up, you know? Or if I see it happen again, I have to like pause the scrim and tell everybody what they're doing wrong. But just as long as they've got their minds on the right track, you have to let them fall down and scrape their knee a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Just let them like establish good fundamentals and just let it happen. And you can go in and gently remind them over and over and over again, but don't add new things onto the back, right? Keep it basic.
Make it a little more simple.
And you're gonna lose their attention as well, because so much of this might be good information, but it's not processable.
When you do that, what options do they have? If we have half of us over here, let's just for the giggles, let's just say we have Sig.
Oh, please don't write out their individual
and
names.
Zen over here, and then everybody else is over here.
Please. Oh, you put an E for everyone. Oh, Baggins, you're way too good at this.
What is the enemy team's options?
Either go.
Or they push.
They go up the stairs on the right and go to point.
Okay, you're thinking what they'll do as a team as a whole, but what 2 characters do they have?
Echo and Genji.
What can Echo do?
Go over the building.
Yep, she can just quickly fly up here so that these 2 can't really do much about it.
You're now. Hey, Ravis.
Damn 3 months already.
Thanks for the 3 months, mate. You're now telling me what the enemy Echo is going to do against your splits. What door should? No, please, no.
And they now have to split their focus onto the Echo. So if they go on option 1.
Okay, we don't need to see anymore. At least not of this right now. Baggins, do you have this VOD still saved, the URL? Okay. And I don't even need game audio that much. Okay, so I want you to just re-explain everything that you explained about how we set up our compositional style, their compositional style, and do it as quickly and as efficiently as you can. It's going to be really uncomfortable and awkward, but it's like anything. You're literally trying to improve like a player. So you have to treat it the same way. When you're done with that, I will offer some critiques, and then I'm going to have you do it again. And then after that, we'll get to the discussion part where you start, and you can, and as you're explaining it, you can ask me questions like you would ask a player, like you did in this thing.
So, what we got here? We got a spam versus a brawl. You could argue this is a hybrid brawl spam. So, goal is we're gonna take angles. We're gonna spam them at the choke. As soon as they start rushing forward, we need to kite back before they can get on top of us. They've used speed. Then we can take care of business from there.
How do we split? Who should split?
Excellent question. Now we're going to need 2 front lines because we have a Sigma Rhine. So we're going to split our tanks, obviously. And then our DPS can also split. Our supports will need to be in spots that benefit them. If that's a split, that's a split. If not, then they need to let everyone know where they're setting up. If they're setting up, back on point, then that's fine. If they're setting up back top, that's fine. They just need to let everyone know where they're going. If they're splitting, they're splitting, but they got to make sure that they're aware of that.
Okay. What if they just like rush one of our splits? Like where would our sig split?
Our sig would split directly adjacent to where our main core is going to be.
Where is that going to be? Like here?
We're going to have one over here. They're using this corner hard. And we're going to have one on this corner here using this corner hard.
Okay. Does it really matter who's like with sig?
Not really, as long as we have someone with him. It can be just one support. It can be the Torb.
Okay.
It can be the Junk. We just need someone with him so that he's not a singular target to just rush on because they have a Lucio.
So this is fine. I think critiquing, going back a little bit, is you basically explained it as like spam, brawl, hybrid, whatever. We take angles, we spam them out. Briefly go over these guys like they want to play fast tempo, they want to go in. The one critique I have is that when you're hitting the nail on the head when you're discussing like we need to play like within our backlines LOS. That was what you were focusing on, yeah?
Just to explain that the supports don't necessarily split.
Right.
It's not like an even 3-3 split. It's
Right.
just
Right.
we need some pressure on an alternate angle.
The one thing I would go over on this point in particular is that you're spamming. The thing you went over in the VOD is you're either spamming choke or you're playing back high ground. You're either playing around point or you're playing around the bridge. One of the big things that you can look at, like we talk about positioning, like timing, and the positioning, timing, and then obviously the quality of the plan for positioning. It's the map control that you have, right? Which you went over, right? The splits. Mm-hmm. And then it's also where the fight's happening. That's the other aspect of positioning. So the way you're describing the early split, where's the fight happening?
It's happening at choke.
At choke. Is that the only place that fight's going to happen on first point?
No, it'll also happen here or here, depending on which way they go.
Right. Well, what's right? But more around point, right? So it's either choke or point. Now it might be a slightly different angle on point. It might be left. It might be right. But it's either choke or point. That's it. So how would you describe? Go back and how would you briefly describe how we set up our splits for choke or for point? Again, you don't have to be nitty gritty, but just do it as quickly and as efficiently as you can. It doesn't matter. So what I want you to do is do it one more time. Describe what the composition is, what the enemy composition is, how the importance of splits, where we're taking fights, and then I want you to ask me, where do you guys think we should position around point?
Okay, so just everything we've done so far.
Do it all over again. Confidence.
All right, fair enough.
Let's go.
Okay. So what we have here, boys, is a hybrid comp, brawl, spam, more focused on the spam aspect due to the SIG and the junk. They are running a harsh brawl comp with a little bit of spam, and that means we have the range advantage, so that's fine. We're going to be taking fights, 2 spots, this choke. Because we are a spam and a brawl, we are very good with chokes, so that's good for us. And our other spot is at point. Those are the only 2 places that fights matter. They will be transitioning through places, but in the end, these are the 2 spots fights will take place. So
quick question. Why do we only take fights there? Why at choke and why in point on this point?
Because when they start pushing forward, they have a Lucio who can speed them around. We do not. We need to kite early in order to avoid getting picked off or taking too much spam on the way back to our kite locations. We will also be playing these points in a split configuration. We need to make sure we have 2 points of pressure here and here. If we're on point, it needs to come from somewhere. I don't care where we're setting up necessarily, but we need to set up 2 points of pressure of our spam, which means our tank line will be split, which gives us effectively 2 front lines.
Okay.
Who splits with who doesn't matter as long as we have at least someone with the other split. We cannot let the split be a singular person. It has to be someone else with them so that they can apply meaningful pressure and not get pressured out themselves within 2 seconds.
Okay. Who splits like on point? Like who would split off? Like does it really matter?
The tanks will still always be the split. The Torb will try and off angle with his turret. You want to make sure you're not on the same angle with it. And our junk can be on one of the 2 angles. Our supports will more than likely be together simply because the way this point works, there's only like 2 spots that they can go.
Okay, so stop.
They stick together, they're gonna
Stop
live
right there.
longer.
Stop right there. Stop right there. So brilliant up until this point. I baited you. I baited you.
Yeah.
I baited you. So your delivery, by the way, up until this point was stellar. Was excellent. You did an excellent job explaining why we're taking fights in choke and why we're taking fights in point. The long sight lines, the risk of Lucio speed, we have to rotate early. Brilliant. Absolutely dead on. And you're quick, you're to the point, no complaints whatsoever. Your strategic knowledge is sound, very sound. But what I did is I asked you a question like how, who should be splitting right there. And then you got baited in your monologue. Now, I'm being mean because I've know of other coaches that monologue way more and who are a lot stupider than you are, and also not as well spoken. You're well spoken, you know your crap, and you're not that long-winded. You're pretty direct, but it can be better. So, what I want you to in that situation, like talk to me. If like just screw the practice coaching stuff, just one-on-one conversation. Does it really matter that much who splits on point or how you split? What do you think, like looking at their comp, what do you think are the really important positional things? Who should be touching point?
Ryan
okay.
and or Sig.
Ryan or Sig. Okay. Is there anything else that's really, really important positionally wise if you look at the enemy comp that really is more important than anything else? Ryan's got point. Anything else?
We just gonna make sure we're watching flanks.
Sure. It's fine with me. I might say Ryan touches point and maybe Babzen, y'all don't leave each other too far alone because you can get dove. Right? I don't think really anything else is that important. I think the rest of it, like you're like, okay, well, Ryan Sig always have to split. I mean, yeah, we go over Sig as being an off-angle creator here, but maybe your Ryan Sig split just to contest point, and then your Torb is on a flank, with Harmony Orb, right? Or your Junkrat's like getting pocketed by BAP, and I don't think the other stuff is just as important because even if you're like, you know what, our Ryan Sig really should be split. Absolutely, as much as we possibly can. I think at this point in the game, it's not the most important thing. And remember, at this point, you legitimately, as a coach, have to let errors slide by because they're not the most important thing on the battlefield. And because not everything's going to be remembered. So you have to prioritize. So you might say, okay, I want our Zenyatta Harmony orbing our Junkrat, and you're probably right. That's probably the best move, but I would not bring it up in review. It's too much, takes too long. So you say, guys, we play around point. We're going to try and set up splits. Ryan's going to try and touch. Baps in, stay close to each other. And the rest of you guys do whatever the heck you want. But get an angle.
Just don't feed.
Yeah, just don't feed. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So cut
the specifics for the individual.
So I'm saying cut the fat. And you definitely have some fat to cut out, right? There's a couple of things that take too long and that are unnecessary. But for you need to not only cut fat, you need to cut muscle as well. You saying Ryan Sig being split, that's good information, but it's not important enough to be brought into this review. And I think that's going to be the toughest thing for you, where you have things that are good and understandable, but just aren't priorities. Now, if that's a direct question, then obviously you have to answer it, right? But you don't go out of your way looking to explain a concept that's just not important right now.
All right, we got attack here on Eichenwald. We are playing the rush comp with Mei, which means we play off of walls. If we don't play off of walls, then we have to play off of speed. Ideally, we do both. They're playing a bit of a spam brawl comp, so that means getting from point A to point B is going to be harder, which means we have to get to our fight locations faster than they can spam us out without us taking too much spam. Fight locations are going to be, for us, wherever we can put the wall and split them. If we don't split them, then we have to rotate so that we're safe from them, or we just rush in on someone that may be mispositioned off of the wall. That's the goal of our comp.
Okay.
So we're gonna be taking fights wherever the wall is. If they back up and we miss the wall, then the fight moves. More than likely, fight's gonna end up taking up here because we're gonna try and rush through here. So we shouldn't ever have a fight down here unless we get that wall. I mentioned that in the review.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. But yeah, so like we basically just pulled the trigger too early, and then we kept going when we couldn't go anymore. So what? So this is when you'd ask, what do we need to be doing better next time, right? And obviously, if they get the wrong ideas, you can kind of play around that and shape that. But ultimately, like you can say, hey guys, like we pulled the trigger here a little too early with a coal. Like they ended up kiting up basically all of it, and then we ended up in a position that we didn't really want to be in to begin with, which is running it right down mid. And then, like you said, we overcommitted. So like, what can we do better next time? Yada, yada, yada. Let's go next fight. Still a little bit of autopiloting. What's the plan? What are we doing? And you said you went over that in the review. That's great. But push them. Make them come up with answers and do that in the scrim as well. So you're talking about like mid-scrim feedback and you're struggling with that. Don't worry about reading the situation and telling everybody why the fight went wrong. Don't worry about that. Instead, say, guys, we have a game plan. We're working on this or we're working on that. That needs to happen. Keep going. Good job. I really appreciate the plan on this point. That was great. We need more of that. You kind of see what I'm saying? Like, so what are you going to be working on then? Like, we'll wrap up with this. What are you going to be working on as a coach? As simple, basic as possible.
Short, sweet, to the point. Basically, from what I gathered, by the end of the review, they're teaching themselves and doing it themselves.
Yep. You know, you have taught them your expectation, and then they go out and run with it. It's like let's put it this way. It's like a mathematical class where you teach them how to do 1 + 1. All right, guys, this is how you do 2 + 1. This is how you do 3 + 1. This is how it works. All right, guys, I've given you guys a million flashcards and a couple IRL examples. Let's go and get into groups and start working on it. And then you just walk around the classroom answering questions. And then when things get a little unfocused or a little bit distracted, you bring them back in and you start asking questions again. You get them back focused and you rinse and repeat from then on. Does that make sense? That's your job as a coach. Your job is not to lecture. Your job is to get them going on their own and to make sure that they're doing what they should be doing.